welcome back to the Chrono Collective. It's Jesse back here in the garage. We are getting ready for my local car show. Got the Super all prepped and ready to go. Big shout out to JS Detailing for getting her all cleaned up. So that's why she's under the cover. That will compete at our local show this week. And yeah, we're gonna see if we can bring home Best Import again. We did it with the McLaren last year. For record, that's the trophy that they got me. Sorry for the step stool. I mean, this thing's like 5 foot tall. It's crazy. Anyways, we're back. This episode is all about my McLaren, the 2019 Racing Through the Ages 570S MSO. So you can see it behind me here. I want to talk a little bit about why this car was built, what makes it a 1 of 6 and technically a 1 of 2. And we'll kind of go from there. And oh, by the way, yeah, we added another car to the garage. It's a 2016 981 Cayman GT4 manual car, but we'll talk about that in a future video. Purpose of the car, going to be a lot of content on this car because I'm going to kind of take a real scientific approach to this car, specifically for the purposes of tracking. So more on that in the future, but for now, just know that's coming. Super excited about it. Have had a chance to do a bunch of shakedown time with it, and I've got a lot of opinions on it. So we'll talk about that some more. But let's talk about this 570S for just a moment here. The 570S from McLaren was produced 2016, I think. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to go back and check whether or not 2015 they came out with 570 or not. It was the introduction of the Sportsman series. So up to this point, McLaren had made MP412Cs as a road car, 650S as a road car. They had made 10 MP4 HSs, high sports, and then they had done the 675 LT, which was limited to 675 units, and they had done an MSO HS as well, which I think also only produced 10 units. Very, very rare. Maybe it was 100. One of those numbers. I'd have to go back and double check my sources on that just to be correct. Now, this is all relevant because just recently, within the last week, McLaren introduced the 788 HS. And the 788 HS is an extension of the HS line, more limited edition McLarens. And the 570 back here behind us is a limited edition McLaren. So in 2019, McLaren MSO, McLaren Special Operations, got together with O'Gara Coach out in Beverly Hills and McLaren Beverly Hills and produced 6 coach-built 570S models. They called the collection the Racing Through the Ages collection. You can Google Racing Through the Ages. You will find the articles from Road and Track and Motor Trend and DuPont Registry and all these various different places talking about the collection and what it means. But I'm going to break it down here for you. Spent a lot of time on these, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why these cars are built the way they're built. So there were 6 cars produced in total. They were built in matching pairs, 1 coupe and 1 spider, and the 3 color liveries that were produced of this were Mirai White, Sarth Gray, and Papaya Spark. Obviously, I have one of the 6. It's a Papaya Spark coupe. The Mirai specifically goes back to Bruce McLaren's early days of racing in New Zealand. When Bruce was a young boy, teenager in fact, he would go racing on Mirai Beach in New Zealand. He had tons of success there. His dad was ran a service center in New Zealand there, and he would go racing on the weekends. And actually did extremely well, especially for his age. And kind of the Mirai Beach racing reminds me a lot of the early NASCAR beach racing on Daytona Beach. A lot of you maybe don't know that, maybe some of you do, but that's how NASCAR really got started. It was bootleggers and moonshiners that were coming in and racing, but it was only because they were racing for money on Daytona Beach. Okay, that's enough about NASCAR. That's not what we're here for today. We're here for McLaren history. So Bruce McLaren started McLaren Auto, and it was really McLaren Racing, shortly into the early 60s. And Bruce wanted to push the limits of motorsport, and so he would compete in places like F1. He would compete in places like Le Mans, and he would compete in the North American Can-Am series. And that's where this car's livery got its place from. The Can-Am series from like 1962-ish until the late 60s, Bruce McLaren raced the M8, the McLaren M8 race car. One of the cool things, and I'm really hoping that I can bring this to you later on down the road, is there's an M8 in Nebraska, where I'm from, and I'm really hoping, I have some connections potentially to the owner, and I'm hoping I can bring that car to the channel for you guys to see at some point. But the M8 race car was done in the Can-Am series, Canadian American Road Racing Series. It was a specialty program, and the purpose of it was for basically manufacturers to come in and race and compete. Back then, McLaren was a chassis manufacturer. They were building chassis. They were using lightweight materials like aluminum to try to make the fastest chassis possible. And the Can-Am series was a little bit of an unlimited series. There was some rules and regulations in the series, but ultimately they could do kind of whatever they wanted. And the M8 car was built with a Chevy 427 big block. They produced roughly about 700 horsepower, and the car weighed approximately 1,800 pounds dry. Now that's a lot of power in a really lightweight race car. And Bruce made over 8 iterations of the M8, won 7 Can-Am world titles with it, and made a name for McLaren racing in the Can-Am series, alongside his namesake building in F1. If you recall, Bruce was not limited to just racing his own cars. So he was contracted by Ford and was one of the 3 drivers to drive the Ford GT at Le Mans, and was ultimately the driver that won Le Mans with the Ford GT behind Ken Miles. If we've seen Ford versus Ferrari, you know this story. Okay, so the M8 originally was an all-aluminum chassis. Shortly into the Can-Am series gaining some popularity, TV started happening, but TV was black and white. Bruce decided to paint all of his cars orange. Why did he do that? He did that because orange on a black and white TV would pop off over regular colors on a black and white grayscale TV. So McLaren Orange was born into the racing history of the cars. Now, Papaya Spark, the color you see here, is McLaren Orange mixed with a gold metallic flake. If you ever get to see this car in person, out in the sun, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It truly does shine. The M8 car, the latest iteration of the M8 car, actually started to have, the later iterations, started to have high wings, meaning they had big spoilers on the back. Well, somewhere down the road, not sure the significance, I've dug and dug and dug through the internet and have not been able to find this. Bruce painted one of the spoilers on the M8D, the D iteration car, with a Burton blue spoiler. That's exactly the color spoiler that it sits on the RTTA 570S. Now, other things that were put into this package. P1 carbon bucket seats. So they took the carbon bucket seats out of the P1 because they were making a racing-inspired heritage vehicle. They put them into this car, and then they put the GT stripes on the outside of the car with the matching GT stripes on the carbon bucket seat. There are many other little touches here. They put the MSO 10-spoke wheel on, which was something that was an option for some cars. And then normally on a 570S, when you go look at a 570S, you either got the base model that had like a gray plastic lower trim section and then the side vents were gray, or you got carbon fiber packs. And the carbon fiber packs, there's carbon fiber 1, 2, and 3, and depending on which one you ordered or if you ordered all of them, the black pieces on the RTTA 570S would be replaced with carbon fiber. But on this particular car, they were special ordered in piano black. So piano black was put on all the RTTA cars. It was an MSO designated option and was not available on regular 570Ss at all. Now, I have looked at a lot of 570Ss, and I've looked at a lot of window stickers on 570Ss, and there are only a handful of 570Ss I've seen that carry a higher MSRP than the RTTA 570S. All right. Now, in 2019, if you were one of the lucky 6 to buy it directly from O'Gara Coach Beverly Hills, this car had an MSRP of $252,000. Obviously, like all McLarens, it has depreciated, and that has allowed me the opportunity to bring it into my garage. So where did I find this? That's a great question. It's a little bit of a funny story because I think I got kind of lucky, and I'm happy that I got lucky, but I knew once I saw it what it was that I had to have it. I was looking at 650S Le Mans editions at the time, and I had called on one 2 days before I found this car. That car, the 650S Le Mans, was in Sarth Gray, which was the other matching color pair. The Sarth Gray cars specifically are a tribute to McLaren's win at Le Mans with the F1 in 1994. And the Sarth Gray 650S Le Mans edition was exactly that. It was a tribute car specifically to the Le Mans victory. McLaren likes to put these out in just about every model. So there are now 650S Le Mans, 720S Le Mans, 750S Le Mans. They exist, but they're very rare, 50 cars made roughly. And of the 50, I think there was roughly 27 that were in North America. So I had come across the 650S Le Mans, and I was very interested in the car. I called the dealer that was offering the car, and he told me that it was on hold pending sale for somebody else that had just marked it the day before. As you can imagine, I was very disappointed because I really, really still would like to have a 650S Le Mans in my garage. Okay, now, I go back to searching, and I'm sort of trying to relegate myself to this idea of buying just a regular 570S and just enjoying the car. Because, to be honest, McLarens get a bad rap. You hear a lot of stuff about reliability of McLarens. That really comes from the MP412C and the 650S. And the 570S, which is the Sportsman series we mentioned earlier in the video, really took away a lot of the stuff that creates reliability problems in the M38 platform and really dumbs the car down. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Just it takes away a lot of the gimmicky stuff that you would find on a supercar, strips it down to a more bare bones car experience, sports car experience. And because of that, it makes it one of the lightest cars McLaren has ever produced. The dry weight on a 570S is 2,750 pounds. Wet, they come in just a little over 2,900 pounds. With driver, obviously, you're going to push over 3,000, unless you're a jockey that weighs 80 pounds. And you are really looking at a 540 wheel horsepower car at 2,900 pounds. These cars are go-karts, like literally go-karts. And they are extremely nimble, extremely agile. The carbon fiber monocoque feeds back everything to the driver in such a fantastic way. The driver position in a McLaren, I've not found a better car for driver position yet. I have driven a lot of cars now, And I've had the opportunity to experience many supercars, and I will tell you that I have never found a better driver position than a McLaren. Now, McLaren 570S isn't a perfect track car. Like, in fact, very far from it. It's got a small front track in the sense that the front tires are kind of narrow. And because they're kind of narrow, the car quickly exceeds the mechanical grip of the tires. You can't get enough camber into the front suspension on the car. And so it really does suffer from being a little bit of a narrower track car and a narrower tire and losing mechanical grip. But with all of that said, it is still one of the best driving cars I've ever had the pleasure to drive and put on the road. And every time I get behind the wheel of my McLaren, I am all smiles. So this is just a kind of a brief glimpse into the 570S. But where did I find this car? Because that was where we started before I got off on this tangent. And I found this car with a private seller on the East Coast of the United States. He was the second owner of the vehicle, so he did not buy it from O'Gara Coach. I am now the third owner of this vehicle, and everything worked out. We made a transaction happen relatively quickly and brought the car back, and it has been in my garage now for almost just over 2 years. So here we are. Now, obviously, I don't know what my future ownership for the 570 looks like. I really enjoy the car. It would be really hard to get rid of it, but there are other McLarens that I sort of want to experience and own. Nonetheless, I would like to put an LT car in my collection, every LT car in my collection. And 765s are becoming more and more expensive. 600 LTs are becoming more and more expensive. And certainly the 675 LT is becoming more and more expensive. So I'm kind of at a point where I might be considering changing this car out for another McLaren. But if I do that, it will be an LT car. I will not be buying just a regular 720, 750. Although I did have the pleasure of driving my good friend Rob's 750S. It's an MSO spec car. It's a Spider. And that car was absolutely fantastic to drive. And I could easily see having one because it was just so much fun. The car was every bit as quick as my 800 wheel horsepower Supra. And it just had a much more refined driving experience, obviously, than the raw nature of my 20, 30-year-old Supra. Okay. So that is potentially the future for the 570S. I'm not sold yet on that. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you keep a one of six 570S? Or would you get rid of it and go find one of the LT cars? It's a great question, and it's a hard question to answer. We'll be talking more about the Ferrari because it's going to be coming back. We'll be talking more about the GT4 in future videos. We'll start talking a little bit about watches too. Obviously, I love watches, you know that, and we'll talk about my watch collection and my watch business a little bit. But you know, the Supra's got more content coming on it as well. We've got roll races coming up over the next few weeks. I am going to Sork in a couple of weeks to be a navigator in a Revuelto. You can bet I'm going to be talking about that experience with you all. So, okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. If you do like this video, please drop a like down below. Maybe hit that subscribe button. You know, it does help me out, know that I'm building good stuff. We were very close to 100 followers, which is pretty incredible considering I've only put 2 videos out. I'm very much looking forward to growing this channel with all of you and talking about the ownership of supercars from a more normalized perspective. So thank you again. It's been a pleasure. We will see you all very, very soon.